All rise.
Thank you. Proceeded. Okay, before we get started, I've had some reports that people are in the back of the courtroom playing on their phones. So if you haven't been in this court for all week and haven't heard my instructions, no one in the back has to have a cell phone on. They need to be turned off, put away, not visible, unless you are a member of the press and you have previously sought permission of the court to film and photograph the proceedings. Everyone understand? If I catch someone using their telephone, I will confiscate it. All right? And I will remind you that you are still under oath. Sergeant Sutton.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Sergeant.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gavin.
You've been here throughout the entire trial, so you know the rules. Keep your voice up, which I don't think is going to be a problem. And if at any point in time I ask you a question, if you don't understand it, let me know, okay?
Okay.
All right. Just so the jury understands, you're in the detective bureau, right?
I am.
And that's different from patrol. You're a detective, which is different from a patrol officer, correct?
That's correct.
And we saw several, normally I call them uniformed officers, because they're the guys that wear blue Akron Police Department uniforms, correct?
Correct.
And they normally drive around in marked Akron Police Department cruisers, correct?
Correct.
And they are kind of the first responders to a crime, correct?
Correct.
And oftentimes by being in a police car in a neighborhood, they act as deterrents and things like that, we hope, correct?
Correct.
All right. You, on the other hand, are a detective, which means normally you wear a suit or plain clothes, correct?
Correct.
And normally you drive around in a car that's an unmarked car, correct?
Correct.
And the difference in jobs is your job is more investigatory. After the fact, you're able to, instead of driving around looking for crime like these uniform officers do, you're able to interview who you need to interview, do whatever kind of background work you need to do, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you're in the Persons Bureau, and your shift is what to what?
11 p.m. to 7 a.m.
And back on November 15th and 16th, were you working the same shift?
I was.
Okay. And I think you said that you and Detective Ross were at the corner of Main and Market working on another case, another murder, I think, right?
Correct.
And I think you testified that there are usually about 25, 30 murders in Akron a year, right?
Right.
And your shift, you get about a third of them, so you probably get 10 or 12%, fair?
Fair.
Okay. So a call comes out of a shooting at Papa Don's, and you and Detective Ross, I assume that call comes over the radio, you get the call, and you decide to respond there, correct?
Yeah, it's a signal 21, so everybody knows.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. You said signal 21, and Officer Crockett talked about that a little bit. Signal 21 means officer down or officer in trouble, correct?
Correct.
So immediately you know that this incident involves a police officer, correct?
Correct.
And based on the signal 21, you believe that it involves a police officer in a negative way. He's either hurt, injured, in trouble, something bad's happened to him, right?
One should assume that, yes.
Okay. And like you just testified to, when somebody hears signal 21, it's fair, every police officer drops everything and goes to help out if they can, correct?
Correct.
All right. And I think we heard from Officer Crockett, you guys even go to a special radio frequency where only you guys can talk about that actual incident right there.
What will happen is crime scenes are broken up. Like in this particular situation, you had the search for the suspect moved to Patrol Tac 1. So the people that were talking about the crime scene, the crime that had happened, and all the other stuff, the traffic that needed to be on the channel could be on that. and they separated the search for the suspect to patrol tack 1.
Okay.
So we have many channels to do that on.
Okay, because there's going to be, in a case like this, there's going to be a lot of police officers talking, correct?
Right.
And the guys who are out on the highway with a dog looking for the suspect, you want them to be able to talk to each other.
Right.
And the people who are back on scene, you want them to be able to talk to each other without a bunch of interference.
Correct.
Fair?
That's correct.
Okay. So,
Can you pull that mic down just a little bit?
you've seen the video, you know what time the shooting happens. About what time do you get to Papa Mountains?
Around 2 o'clock.
Okay. So within 4 minutes or so, you're there, correct?
About that.
About, you know. Now, when you get there, you testified that you were briefed by Officer Crockett. He's the first officer on scene, right?
Right.
And I assume he comes up to you and says, hey, here's what we got, and fills you in some of the background information, because you as the, probably the lead detective, you're going to have to control how the investigation goes, and who goes where, and who does what. Fair?
Fair.
Okay. So, at that time, Officer Crockett knows that Justin Winebrenner is on his way to a hospital, correct?
Right.
And he shares that with you, correct?
Right.
So, is it fair to say that within minutes of getting there, you're aware that a fellow police officer is at least injured somewhat?
That's correct.
Okay. And is it fair to say, based on what Officer Crockett said, that he did not see Justin Winebrenner regain consciousness, at this point in time, you're probably aware that this is a grievous injury. Fair?
I was very concerned.
Okay, fair enough. So, you go, you talk to Officer Crockett, you kind of walk through the place, and I think you said on direct examination, you've never been to this park before, correct?
Right.
So you walk through, you just kind of get the lay of the land and see what it looks like and what's going on, right?
Right.
And while you're doing that, you're also looking for evidence, things that may be of importance that you can point out to the crime scene unit, correct?
Correct.
And at some point in time, you were given the word that Justin Winebrenner passes away at the hospital, correct?
That's correct.
While you were on scene?
While I was on scene.
Okay. And I think we had the medical examiner say that that determination came at 2:27 a.m. So fair to say that shortly thereafter, you're probably made aware that he has passed away?
I received a text message from Detective Tanisha Stewart, who was my detective at the hospital, fairly early on in the investigation.
Okay. When you say fairly early on, if he gets pronounced at 2:27, would you say within 5 or 10 minutes you know that?
Within 5 minutes.
Within 5 minutes? Okay. And again, you get the text from your other detective who's over at the hospital, correct?
Correct.
Now, this case is different. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Okay. For example, I know the chief of police was on scene that morning at about 3 o'clock, correct?
Correct.
Any other homicides you investigated at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning as the chief ever showed up?
Yes.
Okay. How often?
Twice, I believe.
Okay. And you've been doing this now for 6 years, and you, so twice out of 60 murders, maybe? Shootings?
Right.
All right. There's a rather large press conference the next day, correct?
Correct.
Are you part of that press conference or no?
No.
You're too busy working, probably, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, again, this is a fellow police officer. So, do you feel any extra added pressure in this case at that time?
Pressure is not the right word. I felt extra, I was sad.
Absolutely.
Someone I knew for a number of years had passed. He was a brother officer.
Joel, on a personal level, as far as more than just being his, hey, it's another police officer?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever socialize with him?
When we were on platoon 4 together, his officer to me.
Okay, fair enough. So, get out of there. They push him back in and say, no, you're going to wait here until somebody gets a chance to talk to you.
Correct.
Okay. So, you testified on direct. It's a hectic, chaotic people are moving around, EMS is coming, police officers are coming and going, radio traffic, it's a little bit chaotic. Is that fair?
Like I said, our first task is try to bring it under control.
Right.
Organize it.
Well, let me say, when you first get there, would you agree that it's chaotic?
Absolutely.
Okay. You realize that for the amount of people that are out on that patio that you need to talk to, you're a little bit short-staffed. Is that fair?
Right.
And that's when you make the decision to call Detective Morrison, who's been a crime against person detective for a long time, and Lieutenant Dave Whitten, who's also been a crime against person detective for a long time, to bring them in to help you with the interview process, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And
Sir, are you using your telephone in the background? Yeah. Just making sure.
good.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. Hang on now. So, you talked on direct examination. There are about 45 to 50 people that get interviewed, correct?
Correct.
But you would agree a good number of them are at a party on the patio and basically see nothing. Many of them hear nothing. Some of them might say, I heard a bang or something like that, but really have no useful information, correct?
About half.
Okay. But again, when you are interviewing people early on, you want to get as much information as possible because you don't know what's going to be important and what's not going to be important as we get down the line, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I think you set up the detectives in these booths over here.
I did.
And somebody would come out of the patio, they'd sit down with a detective, and that detective would interview them for a number of minutes, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Excuse me. And again, interviews that happen just after the fact are important because you probably remember something that happened at 1:30 better than you do something that happened on August 21st of this year. Fair?
They're better for questions to ask it. I mean, you know the general questions that we ask at every crime scene,
Right?
but you don't know the specifics to this crime yet.
Right?
So, in one way it helps because the memory is generally better.
Right.
But in another way it hurts because your knowledge of questions to ask is more limited than it will be later on.
Okay, fair enough, but you would agree with me that one of the basic questions that the detective is going to say is, what happened?
Absolutely.
And you would expect somebody to have a fresher recollection a half hour it happened than 2 weeks after it happened, right?
Right.
Okay, and then now when you interview those people in 2 weeks, you may know specifically one fact that you want to know, and you can narrow in on that fact. But for the general interview that first night, again, we just talked about, you want to get as much information as you can because you don't know what's important and what's not important later on, right?
We get enough information to begin the investigation and their information so that we can contact them again.
Okay, fair enough. So, several of these, like I said, everybody gets interviewed, whether they have something to say or they don't have anything to say, right?
Right. And
these interviews are done not just by yourself, but Detective Morrison does some. I don't think Whitten does any.
Myself and
I think Detective Mayer maybe does some.
Lieutenant Wood and myself did not do any interviews.
Right.
All the interviews were done by Detective Morrison, Detective Stewart, Detective lead interviews back at the station.
Absolutely, we'll get to that. But that night, when those 4 people were doing those interviews, you had access to those interviews, correct?
Yes, when we get back to the station, they're all put in a computer and listened to and gone over. And
Okay. In fact, you generated a report of an investigation on this case, correct?
correct.
And is that it right there to your left?
It is.
Pick it up. That's your A big report, correct? What is it, like 120, 130 pages?
I think it's 125 pages.
125 pages. And as part of that report, even though your name is on it, you referred to interviews done earlier in the night by Detective Morrison or Detective Ross or Detective Merritt, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Because even though you don't do the interviews, you read the interviews, you hear the interviews, and you make that part of your report, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I know you talked about calling Jason Malik and Jerry Forney, who were the two active police officers who coached the allege football team, correct?
Correct.
And you invite Detective Malik comes in, Sergeant Malik, right?
Right.
Sergeant Malik comes in, looks at the videotape and says, I think that guy's Kenan Ivery, right?
Correct.
And then shortly thereafter, right before, you get the call that says, we found this guy laying in the field, and it's Kenan Ivery, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, that night, early on, you become aware that there are several videotapes, correct? That's a bad question. There are several cameras in the bar.
Right.
And there are, well, we know now, there are 16 cameras which take 16 different angles in the bar, correct?
Correct.
And you reviewed them all, correct?
Correct.
As have I. And some of them, for example, there's one that shoots from the top of the ceiling directly down on the cash register, right?
Make sure no one's stealing anything.
Right, and that's there probably make sure nobody's pocketing any money. But again, as far as an investigation into this case, that's not very helpful, right?
No.
Because nothing happens at the cash register, right?
Right.
Okay. So you see these videotapes, and you're able to narrow it down to some that are probably some to give a better view of exactly what happened here, correct?
Correct.
And I know you testified on direct that every day it's a more common occurrence, but it's still fairly rare to get an actual incident completely on video, right?
Completely, yes. It's to the point now where a lot of my cases and a lot of my detective cases, some portion or some of the evidence is video evidence, whether it be from a cell phone, surveillance camera, or something. It's rare in this case that so much of the case was involving video.
So, for example, there may be a shooting that occurs over here, and you see somebody running away from over here. So you see somebody running away, which is helpful in your investigation, but you can't actually see the incident that happened. That kind of thing?
Or the entire event. You see only portions of it.
Okay. But you agree, so this is rare. We got the whole thing on video, don't we?
Yes.
Okay. And you agree that that's rare, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you would agree with me that how you interpret a video may be different than how I interpret a video. You agree with that?
Depending on our life experiences in dealing with the situations, that's absolutely possible.
Right. And you would also agree with me that ultimately, these people sitting over here are the ones who are going to be interpreting the video, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, we heard the 911 call this morning, right?
Yes, sir.
And afterwards, Prosecutor Baumel asked you about the 911 call where it referenced a 40, correct?
Correct.
Would you agree with me that in that 911 call, that they're going to have in evidence, the person who's making that call references a 40 caliber? Would you agree with me that she uses the phrase 40 caliber?
Correct.
Okay. Clearly, 40 caliber references a gun, right?
Right.
All right. And you would agree with that same person gave her interview with, I believe, Detective Ross, which would have happened shortly thereafter that evening, she uses the phrase 40 caliber, correct?
At one point she just says 40, and then another point she says 40 caliber.
I think what she says is, at one point, Natalie Lynn says, Mr. Ivery said I had a 40, I wasn't sure what he meant, and then he said he had a 40 caliber, but I didn't think he'd pull it out. Does that sound like a conversation? Check your police report.
Okay. Can you tell me what page that's on?
Maybe.
Hey, I turned right to it. Okay, paragraph two, her witness statement reads the following. Natalie was with her friend Jody at the bar. They were seated at the south end of the bar. She said that the suspect was hitting on a girl that was seated near them.
After this, she makes mention of the fact that Kenan said that he had a 40 caliber, correct?
Well, that's not Natalie on the 911 call.
Say that again.
That's not Natalie on the 911 call.
Okay.
That's Tara, who's, I assume, hearing that information from Natalie.
Right, I think when they testified, Tara said that Natalie, in fact, we see that on a videotape, where Natalie goes up to Anne-Marie Kuzno and says, after you left, after you left, you told me he had a 40 caliber, right? You see that on videotape?
Right.
Okay. Now, the prosecutor asked you if I don't exactly know what he asked you, but something, he talked to you about whether or not Kenan had a gun on him prior to entering the bar at 153.
Correct.
Okay? And you said that based on your view of it, that you couldn't see one, correct?
Correct.
Now, you would agree with me, because I think you just did, how you interpret a video and how I interpret a video could be different, correct?
Could be.
So, you certainly can't say for certain that he did have one. That's a bad question. You can't say for certain whether Kenan Ivery had a gun on him at 1:15 in the morning, or if he didn't have a gun on him at 1:15 in the morning, correct?
What I'm saying, when I answer the question direct, is that the total facts of my investigation lead me to believe he was unarmed prior to entering the bar at 153.
I understand that led you to believe that, but you would also agree with me. Remember how before I said that you and I may have different interpretations when we watch a video?
Right.
It would be fair for you to say, geez, Mr. Graham, you represent Kenan Ivery, you could be biased, right?
Right.
By the same token, you're an Akron police officer investigating the death of a fellow police officer who's a friend of yours. So I could probably make the same generalization towards you. Fair?
You can make that generalization.
Okay. So, when it straight you was odd, if somebody who had a gun in a bar, who was not supposed to have a gun at all, was just kind of flashing.
I don't understand the question the way that he slashes it around later in the night.
Absolutely he is. And we'll get to that.
That's why I don't understand the question.
Okay. You see a red pen in my pocket?
No.
Okay. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean I don't have it though, correct?
Right.
Okay. Now, you talked in direct examination about how, based on your investigation, you heard, I think Tara is the one who said to you that Mr. Ivery said, I don't want those fucking chicken wings, or something like that.
I believe it was Courtney Jewett. It could have been Tara, but
No, I think you're, wait a minute.
I believe it was Courtney Jewett that
I
said
think you're
that.
right. I think it's Courtney Jewett that said that. Now, again, she's the only one that tells you that, correct?
I think Tara may also allude to it, but she's the only one that says it with the F word in it.
Okay. And I think we've seen that Justin Bates was right around this area where the wings would have been, correct?
Jeffrey Bates?
For Jeffrey Bates.
He passes through there, but he's moving all over the place.
But clearly, you would agree with this, that at some point in time, Tiffany and Mr. Ivery must have some kind of conversation about him taking the wings, because Jeff Bates runs and gets the to-go thing and brings it back, correct?
Not necessarily. That could just be Tiffany's policy to give people their food before she kicks them out. They may not have talked about it. They may have talked about it. I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. You don't know. But clearly, we see on the video Jeff Bates going to get a to-go box for chicken wings, right?
That's correct.
All right. You've seen this video a lot, so have I, so have they, everybody has. We see Kenan Ivery come down here and talk to Tiffany, correct?
Correct.
And then they go back here and they have a rather lengthy conversation there, correct?
Correct.
And then Kenan Ivery leaves the bar, correct?
After stopping to talk with Justin Winebrenner briefly, they leaves the bar.
Let's talk about talking to Justin Winebrenner briefly. That conversation lasts, well, I'm not going to call it a conversation because I don't know what was said. But it appears that Mr. Ivery is in between Justin Winebrenner and that Ed Backlund guy that you mentioned in the direct examination, correct?
Correct.
And the entire time that he's there is 25 seconds, give or take.
Around that time.
Okay. Now, we heard Jeff Bates testify from that witness stand that Kenan says, I'll slap that bitch.
Several times.
Two or three times, I think he said, whatever, several times. Doesn't it? Now, you agree with me that Jeff Bates also told you that in a follow-up interview that you and other detectives had with him at the Akron police station, correct?
That's correct.
Well, would you also agree with me that when he's interviewed that night by a detective, right after the incident, or within an hour, however long after the incident, he makes no mention of that, does he?
That's the right question discussion we were having earlier. I listened to that interview in preparation and found that their entire conversation that night between Detective Morrison and Mr. Bates was about what took place outside the bar. They never asked one question about anything that led up to it because Detective Morrison was concerned with the gun, how the gun ended up where it went, and everything. So the entire initial interview was what happened outside the bar. The second interview we did with him prior to him viewing the videotape was about what occurred inside the bar.
Well, you heard me talk to Mr. Bates yesterday. I mean, he knew who the victim was. He knew who he thought the shooter was. And he had them having a conversation. But you would agree with me that he never brought that up on his own. He never talked about that with Detective Morrison the early morning.
Not that night, no.
Okay. Now, prosecutor asked you about sending the case down to Columbus.
Correct.
To have them enhance, the video and the audio enhanced, correct?
Correct.
And he specifically asked you if after the enhancement, could you hear Kenan Ivery saying, bro, 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 bro? He asked that question this morning, correct?
Right.
And you said, no. Just so we're clear, you can't tell us that yes, I hear, well, hang on. You can't tell us that yes, Kenan Ivery is saying bro, 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 or that Kenan Ivery isn't the one saying bro, 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 bro. You can't tell us, right?
I can't tell you, there's a screen, there's all kinds of noises. I can't tell who's saying anything.
Well, let me ask you this question. Let's break it down a little bit. do you hear around the time that Mr. Ivory walks in here and is confronted by Mr. Wakady, do you hear the phrase, bro, 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 bro?
I do not.
Okay. And again, that's something that the jury will have to listen to back when they deliver it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. While we're on the audio, as they are moving this way towards the front door, prior to the first shot, do you hear, ah! Do you hear a loud scream?
I hear a loud, I don't know, scream to me is more in panic. This sounds more aggressive in nature, but there's a loud screaming.
So, you differentiate between an aggressive scream and a panic scream? How do you do that?
Well, the deeper the tone, you know, it's a instead of ah, you know, that sort of thing.
So you took this as an instead of an ah.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, there's 4 men fighting or struggling over a weapon. People are yelling.
There's 4, I think you said it right, there's 4 men fighting. At the time this happens, there are 4 men fighting. Fair?
Struggling over a weapon.
Okay. You said fighting the first time, though. You want to change to struggling over a weapon?
Yes.
Okay. David Eisel, pretty big guy. About 6'2", maybe?
Yes.
Justin Winebrenner, about 5'11", 235, maybe?
In that area.
Okay. David Wakady is a big man, correct?
Correct.
So you agree with me that when you're talking about these 4 people doing whatever they're doing, the prosecutor asked you if you saw Wakady or Eisel or Winebrenner with a weapon, and you said no, correct?
Correct.
However, you agree with me, combined, it's at least 800 to 900 pounds of people, not counting Mr. Ivory, correct?
Well, from my view of the video, Mr. Wakady never makes any physical contact with Mr. Ivory, but the other 2 do.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Seven pictures in a minute. No, not this.
I don't know exactly what's wrong with the job. I mean, it's just a regular business, and our title. You need help.
All right, I appreciate it. I think why I can do here on with that. Mr. Ivory leaves the bar at about 1:46 or so, correct?
Yeah.
Are you looking at this?
Yeah, it looks like timeline. Thank you.
Kenan Ivery leaves the bar at 1:45:15, correct?
Right.
And he comes back into the bar at 1:53 even?
Correct.
Okay. So that's about, what, 7 minutes and 45 seconds?
Yep.
And you would agree with me that once he leaves the bar, when he's leaving, he has to walk over to his car, which is initially parked up here, correct?
Correct.
And he gets in the car and he has to pull out, correct?
Correct.
And then when he comes back, before he enters the bar, he's got to drive in, park his car, get out of his car, walk in here, and walk in the front door, correct?
Correct.
So the time that is unaccounted for is about 5 to 6 minutes, is that fair?
Right.
Okay. Now you said on direct examination that you clocked how long it would take to get from his residence, I think you said on Denison, correct?
Correct.
To Papa Don's bar, correct?
Correct.
And you were with Detective Ross when you did that.
Right.
And part of the reason you do that is, correct me if I'm wrong, but as an investigator, you want to know, does Kenan Ivery have enough time to go home, get a gun, and come back, correct?
Correct.
Okay. How long does it take for him, how long does it take for you to get from one place to the other?
5 minutes and 34 seconds.
And that's one way, correct?
Correct.
So both ways, if you're following the law and everything, is 11 minutes or so, correct?
Correct.
And he was only gone, we only have about 5 minutes that are unaccounted for, correct?
Correct.
So, is it fair to say that he did not, when I say he, Mr. Ivory did not go to his house and then come back that night?
Unless he was driving extremely fast.
Okay, I mean, over 100 miles an hour the whole way. I mean, crazy fast, right? I mean, crazy fast, right?
It would have to be pretty quick.
Okay. So, he leaves, he comes back, he walks inside the bar. Kenan Ivery walks inside the bar, correct?
Correct.
And that's at 153:00.
Correct.
And would you agree with me that
Oh yes, I would agree.
okay. Now, you agree with me also that Mr. McCady is there also, right?
He is there.
And during the course of your investigation, you learned from at least one witness that he says something like, "Don't you ever fucking talk to her or touch her again," to Mr. Ivory, correct?
Yeah, the witness says that.
Right, a witness says that. And we heard that she came up, and it was Avery Cusio. She testified to that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you interviewed David McCadden a couple days after he gets out of the hospital, correct?
Correct.
He comes out of the station, I think he's you and Lieutenant Whitten, correct?
That might have been me and John Ross, but yeah.
Okay, that's you and another guy, you and another detective. He tells you that he has, and the phrase he used, I'll quote him, is a lot of amnesia, correct?
Right.
And he can't really remember a lot about what happened, correct?
That's correct.
And even after you show him the videotape, he still can't remember a lot of what happened, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. But again, when Kenan walks in, based on your investigation, he is confronted by David McCadden.
Correct.
Okay. In fact, if we watch the video, well, let's watch it.
This doesn't have a video.
This one, oh, this one, right?
Video. But it's still on.
All right, hang on a second. Video.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Playing off the hard drive.
It was up here. I didn't even know I needed it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it'll probably get to the point where each judge is going to have a techie assigned to their phone. Just don't look to me for any help over here.
Okay. Okay. Apparently what this is Exhibit 4. is a video of, you know what he's looking for, it's camera 48, correct?
Correct.
And you would agree, of the 16 cameras, this gives us the best angle of everything that happens, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
You need me to dim the lights, just let me know.
Yeah, you might as well, Judge. Okay, I'm going to go to 15301. Okay?
Do you want me to come down there?
Nope. I'm just telling you, I'm going to go to 15301. Can you see it or no?
There's not clearly.
Okay. Just leave it down.
Sure.
Okay.
Grab the microphone.
Now, ISIL, correct?
Correct.
Katie?
Correct.
Winebrenner?
Correct.
Kenan Ivery.
Correct.
This is when he's first walking back to the bar about 153, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, now we're 7 seconds into him being back there, correct?
Correct.
Now, he is closer to Mr. Wakani, correct, as he's walked in the door.
Actually, just to be clear, Mr. Wakati has not taken a step at this point. Kenan Ivery is washing up the entrance right. There's been no step at this point, by Wakati.
All right. This is Amber Puzo, you just see her head right here.
That's correct.
And I think this is Tiffany Miller right here, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, did you just hear anybody say, bro, 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 bro?
No.
Okay. But you can see, at this point in time, now we're 11 seconds in, Mr. Ivory has backed up a couple of steps, correct?
That's correct. She's kind of just split now. Tiffany is split now.
Absolutely. You would agree with me that Mr. Ivory backs up a couple of steps, correct?
Correct.
And you would agree that Tiffany gets in between them and addresses, not Mr. Ivory, but she addresses Mr. Wakati,
She's
correct?
looking at him.
Okay. And based on your investigation, this is probably after Mr. Wakati says, don't you fucking ever touch her or talk to her again. Correct?
That's possible.
Okay. Now, Now, 153:12. You have it there. This is what the prosecutor showed you that was key moments, is what it's entitled, correct?
Correct.
Now, first key moment, as far as a firearm, happens at 153:12, correct?
Correct.
There. Right? Now, at this point in time, it appears, well, again, this is one of the things that maybe we will interpret it different. But clearly, Mr. Ivory, it appears he does not take that gun on his waistband, correct?
No, he prepares to draw but never draws.
Well, how do you know he's prepared to draw? Are you a mind reader?
Yeah, got his hand on the gun.
Does he have his hand on the gun, or does he have his hand on his jacket, lifted up his jacket?
Looks to me like his hand's on the gun.
Well, it looks to me like his hand's on the jacket. So again, maybe we'll agree to disagree on certain things, right?
Okay.
Okay. But clearly, the one thing we can agree on is he does not pull that gun out at this point in time, correct?
Correct.
What's the next time that he does it?
1:53:21, 9 seconds later.
We believe that his gun is in his right waistband, correct?
Correct.
And it appears at this point in time, and maybe it's better at 22, but around this point in time, he is also accessing, showing, touching, whatever they think he's doing, but you would agree with me that he is not pulling that gun out.
Correct.
Okay. And again, you'd agree with me that at this point in time, they're standing in front of the table that has the big inflatable Browns guy.
They are.
Okay. What's the next time we got?
1:53:27, 8 seconds later.
Okay. Again, 1:53:27. He has his hand in the general vicinity of his gun for whatever reason, correct?
Correct.
Accessing it, touching it, showing it, whatever. We agree with me that he does not pull that gun out at that time.
No.
Okay. Now, you agree with me that at this point in time, where as Mr. Ivery was once in front of this table with the big Browns guy, it now appears he is moving off in this direction, correct?
Yes, he's moving deeper into the bar voluntarily.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Correct.
And again, well, we'll keep going. This is Mr. Winebrenner, correct?
Right. He's just been notified by Tiffany Kenan Ivery has a gun.
Does it appear to you in your investigation that Mr. Winebrenner comes up to Mr. Ivery with his arms outstretched and puts his hands on him?
His arms are outstretched, but my view is blocked, specifically if he's touching him or anything like that. It doesn't appear that, I can draw a conclusion from that.
Okay, and that's important because it appears that his arms are outstretched. We know that Mr. Winebrenner's arms are outstretched, correct?
Right.
But you would agree with me that Mr. McConaughey is blocking our view, so we can't see that at that time, can we?
No, it looks to me more like it's a de-escalation technique, like, well, maybe, but I can't say that for sure.
Right. And I can say it looks more to me like he's going up and put his hands to grab his driver. But we can't tell from the video because Mr. McConaughey blocked everything, correct?
Correct.
All right. You would agree with me that now, where Mr. Ivery is, and Mr. Winebrenner is, and Mr. McConaughey is, we've moved from not that table that has the big Browns guy, but one or maybe two tables over, correct?
Correct.
Okay. We're at 153:46 now. I know, we're going to talk about it. You don't know that.
See his elbow come up, but it's the only way to draw it.
Mr. Ivory.
Hold on one second, I don't mean to stop you, but because you're turned away from us, Sergeant Lickey, I don't think we can hear anything you're saying, and Mr. Brevin projects well, but you don't have that up in your mouth, so we need to hear both sides.
You just testified that you can't tell if Mr. Winebrenner early on, 5 seconds before this, is grabbing Mr. Ivory because Mr. Rotati is in your way, correct?
Correct.
Now, you would agree that we have Mr. Winebrenner here, we have Mr. Rotati here, we have Tiffany Miller here, we have Isel here, we have Mr. Ivory here, and you can't see that gun at all at that point in time, can you?
No, but we're talking about a common motion versus a very uncommon motion.
Hey,
That's not that. The draw is a very distinct arm movement, and you see it here.
well, let's see. Now, at this point in time, we can't tell if Isel has his hands on Mr. Ivory, can we? Just from the videotape.
No.
And we can't tell, given the proximity of Mr. Rotati and Mr. Ivory, that Mr. Rotati has his hands on Mr. Ivory, can we?
Wakati doesn't. He's blocked by Winebrenner. Wakati's back here. Winebrenner's here. Mr. Wakati can't get through. He's not touching. When you say Mr. Wakati's not touching him, Winebrenner and Isel are question marks.
Okay. And again, this is at 153:51. We still waiting for gunshot check, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So step by step. Clearly here, it appears that people have their hands on Mr. Ivory, correct?
Yes, actually, as you continue playing forward, Isel is making an attempt to control the right hand, which has the gun in it at this point.
Do you see the gun in his hand at this point?
He doesn't have another opportunity to draw, so it has to be there.
Do you see the gun in his hand at this point?
No.
Do you know if Isel?
What I'm saying is his hand is already up, and it never doesn't go back down, and we'll later see it with the gun in.
I understand that we're going to see it outstretched, but this is my question. Can we tell from this videotape whether or not Isel has his hands on or near the gun?
No, but I assume so. And I would assume that that's what I would do.
Okay. Now, you talked before about Mr. Ivory moving from here over to here, and you used the phrase voluntarily, correct?
Correct.
You would agree that now that he's going out this way, Mr. Ivory is certainly not moving voluntarily, correct?
At this point, he's a man with a gun and trying to push it out.
Well, I guess that would be the question from them. It's kind of a chicken or egg kind of question. But we know that clearly at this point in time, at least a couple of people have their hands on Mr. Ivory, correct?
Correct.
And we know that at least less than a minute earlier, a rather big guy approached him in a threatening manner, talked to him in a threatening manner, correct?
Talk to him and said verbally abusive manner, said the F word.
Well, okay, that's fair. Now, again, it appears as if you have Winebrenner here, you can see his hat, correct?
Correct.
You have Okami here, correct?
Correct.
I think that's Isel right there, it's kind of hard to tell, isn't it?
Okay, he's still trying to control the gun.
Okay, so again, there are at least 3 people involved in forcing him out of the barn, correct?
Absolutely.
And you want to get the pictures, I need the pictures. you remember seeing these pictures?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Now I'm going to show you what this State's Exhibit 155. This is a work to do the audiovisual guy. Well, no. This is State's Exhibit 155 you guys showed this morning, correct?
Correct.
And I think your testimony this morning was, this is when you believe the first shot was fired.
And you can see Gable kind of here punched in as when he takes the round.
Is that better if I do it like that, so the glare is gone?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you would agree with me at this point in time that when you believe that first shot was fired, Mr. Ivery appears to be going down, correct?
He's in a crouched position. I can't tell you who's going out now.
Well, his head is lower, I mean,
Mr. Ison's head is the lowest. He's in the middle, and Justin's head is slightly higher.
so it appears that Mr. Winebrenner is standing up, correct?
They're all crouched, just at different levels. Crouched, more of a crouch, more of a crouch.
Okay. So, is it your testimony that Mr. Ivory is squatting down? Is it possible he could be getting knocked back?
It looks to me like the gun is here, and he's crouched in a position like this.
Okay. We got to go to camera number, at some point we're going to go to camera number 3 then. This is camera number 3, which is the entrance door, correct? Right here, this is the entrance to the bar?
It is.
Okay. And I'm going to go until 143, correct? Or I'm sorry, 153, right? 153.01. There?
Fair.
And we see Mr. McCady, correct?
Correct.
And we see Kenan Ivery walking in, correct?
Correct.
All right. Do you hear anybody say, bro, just now? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay. So at 153.30, he has now been in the bar for 30 seconds, correct? This last time in?
Yes.
And up until this point, he has not pulled out his weapon, correct?
Well, we showed it 3 times, but it's not pulled it out.
Right, but he has not pulled out his weapon, fired his weapon, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And clearly, if he wanted to, he could have pulled it out at any time and started firing, couldn't he have?
You feel that?
Okay. extreme of aggression and fear.
That's what I would say.
Okay. All do they want the bar, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Ivery, Mr. Winebrenner, and Mr. Isom follows them out, correct?
Correct.
Okay, you go ahead and have a seat. Just read the words. Is that the exhibit that says key elements?
Key moments.
Key moments? Okay.
Well, you're not going to approach on that.
Afterwards, the search warrant is obtained for Mr. Ivery's car, correct?
Correct.
And you're aware, and I think you testified to, 2 cell phones are found inside the car, correct?
Correct.
And there's one that's actually plugged into a charger that is found on the passenger seat, correct?
I believe from the photographs, I didn't search the car.
Okay. All right. We'll have to do that another way. And so now you testify and direct. They show you camera 13. Is that fair?
Like I said, the only thing you can tell is that he's reaching to that side of the car.
Okay. And you can't, when he's reaching to that side of the car, you can't say for sure what he's reaching for, can you?
Not until he gets out of the car.
Well, I think you said on direct examination that when he gets out of the car, he is he putting something in his waistband?
Correct.
Or is he putting something in his pocket?
It appears to me that he's putting something in his waistband.
Well, it appears to me that he's putting something in his pocket, so you would agree that ultimately these people...
Well, I'll sustain as the editorializing, but because you're not testifying.
Fair enough, Judge, sorry. You would agree with me that ultimately these people over here will have to make that determination as far as what they see, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So, I just want to go over a couple areas that was discussed through the course of your testimony. First of all, in regards to the audio, these cameras, first of all, camera 4 is stationed where?
On the door over the exit to the patio.
And that is where the microphone, which is picking up the sound, would also be located, correct, on the camera.
As far as I know, yes.
And there's individuals, I guess, through the bar, I guess the booth would be almost the closest thing to that microphone, correct?
The booths are close to it.
And same with camera 3. Where's camera 3 located?
Camera 3 is over the bar, but more towards, like it shows the front door. It's over the bar, but directly parallel to the front door.
So unlike, where people may be equipped with microphones and a play or what have you, there is no way of telling who's Is that fair to say?
I have not been able to. Maybe somebody else can. I cannot tell.
Mr. Grumman asked you about having a red pen in his pocket, comparing that to being able to determine if a gun is on the person. First of all, is there a difference in physical characteristics between a red pen and a firearm in this case?
Yes, sir.
What are those differences?
Difference in size, shape, weight.
Is it also relevant in you coming up with your conclusion that you could not see a gun on Mr. Ivery's person, that when Mr. Grumman asked you the question, it was a 1 second view. You were able to view Mr. Grumman for a second as opposed to Mr. Ivery was in the bar for approximately an hour and 20 minutes before he left. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And is it also relevant that Mr. Grumman is standing still while Mr. Ivery may have been sitting, standing, reaching into his pockets, and moving around the bar for an hour and 20 minutes? Would that also be relevant in you determining whether you can see a weapon on this person or not?
But they were not.
And so when he left, he or anyone else bothered to put those things in a to-go container, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Grumman asked you about the direction in which Mr. Ivery walks when he enters the bar at 153. When he walks in that direction slightly to the left, are there individuals that he's walking towards that he's previously had argument based upon their investigation?
Justin Winebrenner,
Is Tiffany Miller also in that direction?
Tiffany Miller.
Is Anne-Marie Cusio also in that direction?
Yes.
So when he turns to the left, those three individuals are all in that direction. Is that correct?
Right.
For the portion of the video where Mr. Grumman asked you, Mr. Officer Winebrenner outstretched arms. At that point, immediately after Officer Winebrenner gets off his bar stool, is that when the physical confrontation occurs?
No.
At that point, which of Mr. Ivery's shoulders is closer to Officer Winebrenner?
He blades his body with the weapon side away.
What does that mean to blade his body?
Well, it's a typical way where police officers stand. You'll probably notice if you ever had an officer talk to you, we intentionally blade our bodies at a 45-degree or so angle. It's with the gun more protected by our body. That's, to me, what a bladed stance means. That's how I use it in police terms.
And you're describing Mr. Ivery's movements at that point?
As bladed.
Yes. Mr. Ivery's movements?
Yes.
And so would it be his left shoulder then that is closer to Officer Winebrenner with his right side being farther away?
Correct.
And where was the gun tucked at that point?
The right hip of Mr. Ivery.
Mr. Grumman also asked you about the motion of raising his hand and your conclusion that he was pulling out the gun. Do you also recall the testimony of David Isley?
Yes.
And so is your conclusion based solely upon watching the video, or was it testimony of an individual who was right there as to what was occurring when that shoulder was raised?
Both.
And David Isley was interviewed, or Isol, excuse me, was interviewed on November 16th as well, correct, in one of those booths.
Correct.
And as Mr. Grumman pointed out, at that point your memory would be much better than 3 weeks later, correct?
Correct.
And what did David Isol say in regards to Mr. Ivery's motions at that point when he is approaching Kenan Ivery.
I'd like to refer to my report. He saw the black male pull a gun and attempted to tackle him.
And you recall him testifying and showing actually the motions when he testified yesterday of the arm going up.
Correct.
Is that when he testified the gun was pulled?
It is.
After, in the video, after the gun goes up, you see an action by Justin Winebrenner.
His shoulder drops.
What do you mean by that?
Justin's shoulders are parallel, and as Mr. Grevin pointed out, there's some blockage in the way so you can't see his hands, but his shoulder drops, and I believe...
Objection.
What was the statement as to that? You ask another question.
Would it be consistent with Officer Winebrenner than reaching towards that right waistband?
Objection.
Does the gun be pulled?
Anytime throughout the entire night from my reviewing this video, from the very beginning of it when it starts at 00:15 until the very end, I don't see anybody physical with Mr. Ivery until the gun has been drawn and he's down.
After the gun had been pulled.
Yes.
Mr. Grevin asked you, could Kenan Ivery have pulled out the gun and shot it when he first got into the bar? I'll ask you, could he have not ever returned to that bar then?
Yes.
Could he have not returned to that bar with a gun? No further questions.
Just a couple, Judge. Prosecutor just asked you about when the physical confrontation starts, correct?
Correct.
You would agree with me that you have no idea when Kenan Ivery believes he is being physically confronted, correct?
I'm only going by the video when I say what I say.
Exactly, and we can watch the video, but as far as when Mr. Ivery believes that he is being physically confronted, you don't know that, right?
I have no idea what he's thinking.
Okay. And the prosecutor talked to you about Mr. Winebrenner coming up and Mr. Ivery keeping his gun away from him. You remember that?
The bladed stance, yes.
Okay. Sorry. You would agree with me, the gun is in his right, Mr. Ivery's right waistband, correct?
Correct.
And Mr. Winebrenner comes up on Mr. Ivery's left side, correct?
Correct.
So just by him coming up on this side, the gun is going to be away from Mr. Winebrenner, correct?
The point of the question is the gun is away. The gun is away from
Right.
him.
The gun is away. But it's not like Mr. Ivery pulls away to get the gun away from Mr. Winebrenner. That's just the way he's standing when Winebrenner comes up to him, right?
I didn't testify that he jerked around or anything like that.
Well, I
He
understand.
said he was blading.
Who was blading?
The defendant was standing with his right side a little further back than his left side, which is commonly referred to as a bladed stance.
And again, that right side is further away from us, from the right side. Isolus comes up on Mr. Ivy's right side, correct?
Correct.
So clearly the gun is closer to Mr. Isol than it is to Mr. Winebrenner, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And when we watch this video, whether it's camera 3 or camera 4 or camera 13 or camera whatever, and whether it's audio enhanced or video enhanced in Columbus or whatever, you would agree with me that we cannot physically see the gun first coming out of Mr. Ivory's waistband, correct? Yes or no? Do we ever see the gun coming out of the waistband?
We'd have to go by testimony. There's no, it's not on the video.
That was my question. We never see that on a videotape, correct?
Not the moment it's first drawn, no.
Okay. Thank you.
No further questions.
Thank you, Sergeant. Any other witnesses on behalf of the state of Ohio?
Subject to the mission of the state's exhibits, the state will rest, Your Honor.
All right, what that means for today, ladies and gentlemen, is that we're going to break for the day. We will be back here tomorrow morning, be here at 8:55. I'm going to tell you right now what I believe the schedule is going to be, and that's after consultation with the lawyers. And that is that we will be here tomorrow, probably not for the whole day, but a portion of it. We will not be meeting in trial on Thursday. I'm going to resume my normal duties on Thursday, which is normally a very busy day for me. And I didn't, it's where I manage a lot of my other cases. I didn't do it last week, so now I'm facing a very busy day on Thursday, so we're going to break on Thursday. So on Thursday, you can resume your normal daily duties if you go back to work or whatever you wish to do. And then we may have you back on Friday. I'm not sure yet. We will know that probably sometime tomorrow. And then we are certain that when we are going to do the closing arguments and the sequester will begin will be Tuesday of next week. So that's October 13th. So I will have additional information about the sequestration. I'll give that to you tomorrow. That will be in writing. Everything to you. I'll read those instructions to you, and I'll give them to you in writing tomorrow so you can prepare. But I'm telling you now, you don't have to worry about packing a bag and bringing things in until Tuesday. All right? So that is when we anticipate the closing arguments, the instructions, and the deliberations will begin on Tuesday. Okay? So we will see you here tomorrow, 8:55 a.m. All the admonition still remain about discussing, investigating, deciding, or talking with anyone related to this case. All rise. All right, and so those exhibits together. I don't know that Mr. Ivory needs to stay here. We're going to going to do a motion probably at the beginning, after the break. And then
Yes,
he-
we'd like Mr. Ivery here for that.
Okay, and so we'll just take a break and we'll go over the exhibits and hear the motion. Okay?